Hello everybody, how are you today? Today I'm putting rockers and push rods in. I finally got a set of push rods that are straight. I had a couple that were what I consider out of spec. One of them was so bad I could fit a 5/1000 feeler gauge under it. So I just rolled them on the granite counter in the kitchen. Glass would work too, but I find the reflection and the clearness of the glass distracting, so the granite helps with the light behind it. I can see the gap, what it's doing. So anyway, I put this set in and nothing's tightened down yet. I got a sequence I'm going to tighten them in according to the service manual. And this set is ready to be lubricated. So I oiled both ends of the push rods. The engine's going to get pre-lubed, so I didn't bother filling with oil. And I covered the valve spring tips with oil as well as the pedestal. Pretty much it's already all soaked in oil. So let me show you what I'm doing to the rockers, because it has a trunnion with the needle bearings, the cage bearings with the grease in it. Remember from a previous video I was talking about some people were saying the oil wouldn't get into them because of grease. Well, I think it's more like Vaseline they must use just to keep the bearings in, and I'm pretty sure it's got a super low melting point and it would just flow out because there was nothing in the instructions telling me to clean it out with solvent or anything, so I'm not going to. What I am going to do is I'm going to take out the bolt and I am going to submerge the rocker in oil and spin it on that trunnion shaft, working the oil into the bearings. So I'm going to do the number 8 intake first, which is the farthest one back on the right side, which is the passenger side, for those that like it said one way or the other. So I'm just going to take it, and when I spin it like this, I can feel the grease in there. It doesn't feel rough, but it feels like it's resisting. So this is clean oil. I know it looks black, but that's because the pan is black. So I'm just dipping it in there and spinning it, and I can feel it loosen up. It's already loosened up quite a bit. And I'm going to do it to the other side. And besides getting oil all over the rocker, it's lubricating those bearings inside. So I know they're going to start off with oil in them. Put the bolt in, and I'm going to carry it in this glass dish to keep it clean. And then I'm going to go install it in the farthest one in the back. Next one I'm going to do is cylinder 2 exhaust, which will be the furthest one to the front on the other side. And that's going to hold the pedestal in place for me. And then I'll just go down the line. It doesn't much matter what order from there. So, well, let me get this installed. All right, well, I went and recorded this and put them all in and realized that you guys couldn't see what I was talking about. So I went ahead and took the number 2 intake rocker out. Now I'm going to re-explain what I was saying and get a better view. There you go. So you see how that is offset? That's how you can tell that it's an intake. The exhaust does not have this angle here. They just come out into the middle, even on both sides, symmetrically. The asymmetric rockers, these are intake. So anyway, I'm going to take it out of the glass dish that I carried it over in. And it's going to, of course, make sure the bolt is seated on the flat side of the trunnion. Drop it in there. Make sure the push rod is engaged in the cup. I'm just going to start it. Okay, that's it. I mean, just do that to all 16 of them, and that's how easy that is. So let's get to torquing by the sequence in the book. And let me take you over there. Alright, so here we are in the book. Valve rocker arm and push rod installation for the LS3 and LSA. Some of the stuff in this book, I don't quite understand why they call it the way they do. But anyway, they are correct here. The timing mark on the cam needs to be at 12 o'clock. Timing mark at the crank needs to be at 12 o'clock. And you're going to rotate the crankshaft until piston number 1 is at top dead center of the compression stroke, which it is at the compression stroke. So I verified this was correct by putting both push rods in and making sure that they were both basically on the base circle, that they weren't on the lobe pushing up. So here they're just telling you what cylinders are on what side. So left side of the car, driver's side, 1, 3, 5, and 7. We already know all that. The good stuff is down here. So you're going to tighten the exhaust valve rocker arm bolts. So the exhaust valve rockers on 1, 2, 7, and 8. And then we're going to go over and tighten the intake rockers on 1, 3, 4, and 5. So all those will be where you can tighten them down, where there's not going to be any lift pushing up against you. Then we're going to rotate the crank 360 degrees, and then we're going to do the other 8. 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 2, 6, 7, and 8. And that's all there is to it. Then they'll be torqued. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so we're here at number 1 on the intake, which is one that we need to do with the crank and cam in its current position. What I wanted to show you was how they would measure preload old school. So they would put a push rod in there of the length that they think they need, and then they would just hand tighten the rocker down like that. And then they would count the number of revolutions until it reaches 22 foot-pounds. So with the thread pitch on this bolt, with the preload I have picked from the Comp Cam's measuring tool, about 82,000, somewhere around there, should be about 1 3/4 turns. See if I can do this without bumping into the camera. So there's half. There's 1 full turn. I'm trying to get it where it starts to grab right at the 180 degree on the ratchet side. That's 1 1/2. So let's do 1/4. I bet it's not going to make it. Nope. So that was 1 1/2. So 1 1/2 turns to 1 3/4, which I believe most people would say that's about right. So that's the old school way of doing it. Of course, we measured our push rod, so we knew that was going to be the right one. And that one's done. Now I just got to do the rest of them. This guy's flopping around because he's on another sequence. All right, well, let me get back at them all. So unfortunately, I ran into a little snag. So when I went to tighten this one, something didn't feel, this one, something didn't feel quite right. The bolt wasn't going down smoothly. So I pulled it out, pulled the rocker off, and put the bolt in by itself. And as it started to go down, I realized oil was coming out from the bottom of the bolt hole. I don't know why I thought the bolt holes just went through, but they don't. So that bolt was getting hydraulically locked, and it wasn't allowing it to go down. So I'm actually gonna rotate the engine back over, which I've already done, and loosen up all the rockers, take all the rockers completely off the trunnion pedestal, and blow all the holes out with compressed air to get out any oil that I dribbled in there when I was putting oil on the connecting rods. I don't want any of this hydraulically locked because I don't know if it's going to affect my torque. So better safe than sorry. But it did feel good turning it over, and it seemed to be strong as far as compression on the springs. But well, I got it back turned over. I'm going to loosen them all up, blow them all out, put them all back in, and come back with some more video. All right, well, that wasn't too bad. There was some oil down in some of the holes, and you know, I don't know if it would have got compressed or not. I know that the one wasn't threading in there right, so I wasn't going to take a chance, you know. So anyway, I got them all torqued, went through all 4 sequences from the book that I showed you. Now I'm just going to turn the engine over a couple times and then go back, put it back into the sequence that the book says, and double check my 22 foot-pounds. I guess this will tell me if I'm going to be smacking on any pistons too, which I don't expect to at all. You can see the rockers going. They want the cam marked at 12 o'clock once again. There it is, 12 o'clock. I'll go back through, check the 4 intake, check the 4 exhaust, rotate it again, check the other 4 intake, other 4 exhaust, and then call it good. We can put the valve covers back on and start with the timing cover. All right, so I went through and retorqued everything by sequence according to the service manual, and then I just went down the line and just checked them all, just right down the line there. So what I'm going to do now is make sure the push rod looks like it's seated on each cup. Make sure the bolt is on the flat part of the trunnion. Make sure the tip of the rocker is over the valve. If something doesn't look right, I loosen that one up according to its sequence on the crank and cam, line it up, and retorque it. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I've already checked these. They all look good. So I'm just going to degrease, de-oil around the valve cover. And actually, you know, I'm not going to do that yet. I think I'm going to put the cover on, the timing cover on, and get ready to prime it. I want to make sure there's oil coming out of the top here. So I'm going to leave the valve covers off, and I'll see you in the next video when I show you how I'm going to prime the engine. So come back for that video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I've got a few more videos I'm going to be making, actually quite a few, on the build for this Camaro. So subscribe and hit the bell and you'll be notified. And if you want, share it with your friends and like it. And I also have an Instagram, still trying to get that going, fastenough_ZL1. And I am not really on Facebook, so sorry about that, maybe another day. Anyway, take care everybody. Thanks for stopping by.